A space expert explains why Russia's exploded satellite is such a huge problem. This is by Wendy Whitman-Cobb on The Conversation. On 15th of November 2021, U.S. officials announced that they had detected a dangerous new debris field in orbit near Earth, and later in the day it was confirmed that Russia had destroyed one of its old satellites in a test of an anti-satellite weapon. Now we know that weapons are not supposed to be used in space, but that's what they did. Wendy Whitman-Cobb is a space security researcher. She explains that these weapons are and what these are and why the debris they create is now a problem and in the future. So what do we know? Russia launched an anti-satellite test that destroyed one of its older satellites. The satellite broke up and created thousands of pieces of debris in orbit, ranging in size from tiny specks up to pieces of a few feet across. So that's quite big. Now, we have images of debris from a single destroyed satellite. It can spread out rapidly, as seen in the image from NASA. This is a debris field from a Chinese satellite 1 month after it was destroyed back in 2007. So this is all from one satellite, the Japanese destroyed satellite in 2007. This space junk will linger in orbit for years, potentially colliding with other satellites as well as the International Space Station. The space station crew had already had to shelter in place as they passed near this debris cloud. Now, what's an anti-satellite weapon? Anti-satellite weapons, commonly referred to as ASATs, are anything that can temporarily impair or permanently destroy an orbiting satellite. The one that Russia just tested is known as a direct ascent kinetic anti-satellite weapon. These are usually launched from the ground or from the wings of an airplane and destroy satellites by running into them at high speeds. So they impact them, in other words. Kindly support my Patreon account. The daily posts are 5 videos daily, and they are totally different from what I have on my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for your support and that you find all my content so interesting. You'll find the Patreon account details in the description box. Something like this. This is what happens. Now, a similar type called a co-orbital anti-satellite weapon are first launched into orbit and then change direction to collide with a targeted satellite from space. The third type, non-kinetic anti-satellite weapon, use technology like lasers to disrupt satellites without physically colliding with them. Space agencies have been developing and testing anti-satellite weapons since the 1960s. To date, the US, Russia, China, and India have developed and have demonstrated the ability to attack satellites in orbit that support services like GPS, communications, and weather forecasting. So why is debris a problem? Regardless of the cause, space debris is a serious problem. Larger pieces are easier to track and avoid, but it's difficult to track pieces smaller than 4 inches or 10 centimeters. Even small debris can still pose a major threat. So space debris is often traveling faster than 17,000 miles an hour around the Earth, and at that speed, pieces of debris could destroy any spacecraft or satellite it collided with. In the 1980s, a Soviet satellite broke up as a result of a suspected debris strike. More worrisome is the danger debris poses to crewed space missions. In July of 2021, one of the International Space Station's robotic arms was struck by a piece of debris that put a half a centimeter or 0.2 inch hole clean through a part of the arm. While the damage did not need to be fixed, officials characterized it as a lucky strike. If it had struck a different part of the station, the situation could have been a lot worse, they said. Space debris is also a significant threat to people on Earth. Satellites play a vital role in the global economy through GPS, communications, and weather data. If services such as these were disrupted, there would be significant economic cost. One study found that a GPS outage could cost up to $1 billion a day. There are currently thousands of pieces of space junk circling our Earth, with sources as varied as old rocket bodies, dead satellites, debris from previous collisions and tests, and lost items from astronauts. The problem, like with the environment, is that there is little incentive for individual countries to avoid generating debris or clean it up. The amount of space debris has only increased over time. For years, scientists have been warning about the possibility of a collision cascade. As the amount of debris increases, the chance of collisions between it and other satellites and debris also goes up. More collisions might then leave certain orbits completely unusable. While this could take decades to play out, events like the Russian test will only make such an outcome more likely. Now, what to do? In the short term, little can be done to mitigate this new cloud of space debris, but anyone with anything in space is on high alert to avoid it. The US government and commercial companies are tracking the new debris, and the crew on the International Space Station have been ordered to keep certain modules closed off as they continue to pass through this debris cloud. As the new debris spreads out and pieces are tracked, station controllers will have a better understanding of the danger posed to the crew. In the long run, experts recommend working on global solutions to remove the debris. This includes taking measures to prevent debris in the first place and removing debris that is already in space. Several governmental and international organizations have proposed ways to prevent new debris, but these are informal and not legally binding. Remediation is a tougher challenge. Technology to remove debris has not yet been fully developed, but even still, its deployment is a sensitive subject. The same technology that might be used to remove a piece of space junk could also be used for attacking a satellite. This dual-use technology poses challenges as it can raise suspicion that countries are testing anti-satellite weapons under the cover of debris removal. So, despite these difficulties, there is growing international recognition that space debris is a dangerous problem. A consortium of private companies recently created the Net Zero Space Charter to reduce debris, and the US Space Force is looking for ways to combat the problem as well. While the world still does not yet have the full understanding of Russia's actions, this event is a wake-up call on the importance of efforts to reduce pollution in Earth's orbit. This was by Wendy Whitman-Cobb, Professor of Strategy and Security Studies, U.S. Air Force School of Advanced Air and Space Studies, on the conversation on Science Alert. Please leave your comments. Thank you for your support. Now, we were told that this Russian satellite has been cut into, well, it blew up into pieces of 1,500 pieces, some odd. So this is a lot of pieces out there. Of course, Russia doesn't want to blame itself. They said, there's nothing wrong with what they did. Obviously, the international community is totally against what Russia did because of the amount of space debris that's out there. Not only do we have all this Chinese debris out there from 2007, now we have the 1,500 additional pieces from the Russian satellite that was blown up. Now, the thing is that we have another 12 or 15, 16,000, I keep losing track, satellites that have been put up for internet connections by Elon Musk, and he plans to put up another, a total of 40,000. So you can imagine what's going on up there in space. It's getting very crowded, not only with satellites, but also with the junk that's up there. Perhaps somebody should make a law to create companies to clean up the space junk. Anyway, please leave your comments. Thank you for your support.